A pleasant day to all of you, our viewers. Welcome to the program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, welcoming you on this first day of July 2022. It's a Friday, and it is the beginning, official beginning of the Ferdinand Marcos Jr. presidency, and there remains to be a lot that is at stake and that has to be done. Let's all pray that all will go well under the BBM presidency for the next 6 years. And in the meantime, let's get on with our day here on Agenda. Thank you for joining us, for being subscribers of Cignal TV and viewers of One News PH channels 8 and 250, and catching us on Facebook.com/One News PH and on YouTube. And our daily starter comes from Napoleon Bonaparte. Courage isn't having strength to go on. It is going on when you don't have the strength. Okay, remember all of that. It's a weekend, and some of you may be saying, thank God it's Friday, thank God it's a weekend because kinakapos na ako ng force. Okay, but as Napoleon Bonaparte put it, it is not courage. It's no big deal to keep going on when you're strong, when you're fit, when you have the resources. It is when things are looking dim and you're fatigued and you wake up and like I did this morning, I woke up sore all over. Sabi ko, ano ba ito? Baka na-COVID na ako. But, we have to get up. We all have a reason, a purpose for getting up and getting on with the day. In my case, I had to wash the dishes. Okay. Anyway, that's Napoleon Bonaparte for all of us. Courage isn't having the strength to go on. It's going on when you don't have the strength. Okay, let's now go to the front page of the Philippine Star, July 1, 2022. And the headline is from the speech of President Bongbong Marcos, "Your dreams are mine." Pampelikulang. Okay? Your dreams are mine. BBM says unity, unity, unity. I'm ready for the task. At the top of the front page, ito naman po ang problema. While our dreams may be the dreams of BBM, our nightmares may just be beginning as far as COVID is concerned. Mag-ingat po tayo. NCR cases could peak by first half of July. And we have repeatedly featured that, talked about that, and I will share that one of my sisters, one of my family members, my sister and her family are now under watch because mukhang marami-rami sa kanilang tinamaan ng COVID because, and here's the thing, okay, they were all kissing the same baby. Favorite apo, favorite daughter. Nag-iisa di ba? Ayun. Yung bata pala may COVID na rin. So lahat ng humalik nahawa. Okay, that photo at the top of the front page is a photo of Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. taking his oath of office at the National Museum and witnessed by his wife, Lisa Araneta, and their 3 sons. Okay. And on the right side of the front page, middle part, BBM to fix shortcomings in COVID response, as the president reiterated that he was one of the first victims of COVID and he knows the experience. He understands the shortcomings of the medical or the health situation or response. Okay. And in lower photos, you have a photograph of BBM shaking hands with outgoing President Rodrigo Duterte, BBM being kissed by his mother, Imelda Romualdez Marcos, and BBM and Sara Duterte, Vice President President raising their hands as a sign of victory. Okay. Below that, you have food sufficiency, less importation seen. Okay. Newly sworn in, President Marcos promised to attain food self-sufficiency and lessen the country's dependence on importation. Okay, and in order to do that, we will have to lessen the development and construction of real estate projects. Okay, anyway, no editorializing this morning. BBM wants to revive Pinoy's English proficiency. Ay, salamat! May nakapansin, okay? Bongbong Marcos wants to revive Pinoy's English proficiency kasi naiwan na tayo, nangungulelat na tayo. The sad news this morning, well, this is a news of concern. Dapat mag-isip-isip kayo, pansinin nyo ito. NATO declares China a threat. Okay, now most of you are saying, anong pakialam ng NATO? They are based in Europe. Why are they concerned with China? Because apparently China has been working closely with Russia and has been very aggressive, has been building up its military strength, etc., etc. So between Russia being aided by China, it is considered a threat to consider on the long term. Hindi pa naman daw kaaway, pero baka maging problema. Okay, and that photograph, there you see Malacanang employees welcome President Marcos as his family arrives at the palace grounds following the inauguration yesterday. Meanwhile, now, private citizen Rodrigo Duterte, he skipped the inaugural event yesterday and chose to go malling. Ayan po. Okay, so that's the coverage of the front page of the Philippine Star today, July 1, 2022. Okay, in case you're wondering what's up in agenda, we are going to be a bit technical today, but like yesterday, we featured the Food Agriculture Organization under the United Nations para medyo magkaroon kayo ng refresher course, okay, on international bodies that are helping globally for food security. Today, we are going to feature two Filipinos who are renowned for their expertise in their field, in their profession, and we will be speaking with someone who is labeled as the country's expert regarding mapping and regarding the United Nations law on the seas, etc. And then later, we will be speaking with an engineer from the Central Luzon State University who won in a competition. Yung kanya parang heat exchange. Ano sabihin nyo, Cito, nosebleed. Medyo, okay, no. Let's listen to them, listen to the interviews because we need to level up. Kailangan pong medyo taas natin ang antas ng kaalaman para sakali medyo napapag-usapan, hindi kayo naiiwanan. And then baka sabihin, yan, huwag nyo na isali. Okay, let's go to our first guest and let's introduce him with this video.
Efren Carandang is the country's representative to the United Nations Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf. Carandang is also the Deputy Administrator of the National Mapping and Resource Information Authority, or NAMRIA. He has served in NAMRIA and its precursor agency for 38 years. Carandang is one of the country's most eminent scholars on ocean governance.
Okay, let's welcome Mr. Efren Carandang. Efren, good morning to you. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Cito, and to your viewers.
Pasensya ka na, no? Ako ang habit ko, first name basis, para relax
it's
naman
all
yung
right.
bisita ko at hindi tayo nagkakapormalan. But Efren, you have been called by no less than our Foreign Affairs Secretary as the best, the most qualified when it comes to the United Nations Convention on Laws of the Sea. And you were nominated to become one of the members of the Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf. Ngayon, for those watching, baka sabihin na, Cito, nosebleed yan. Yung Continental Shelf na pinag-uusapan, but we don't understand what it's all about and why it's important to us. Could you do us the honor, please?
Okay, thank you, Cito. The continental shelf is the seabed. We have the water column, which is, the territorial seas, the exclusive economic zone, but we call the seabed and the subsoil the continental shelf, because in the seabed you will find many resources, mineral resources. So the Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf is tasked by the United Nations to examine or validate the submissions from coastal states for extended continental shelves, meaning those seabed areas that go beyond 200 nautical miles. So it is validating those and making its recommendations to the coastal states who are making the submissions.
So in other words, countries, coastal countries or island nations such as the Philippines, we have what we call our exclusive economic zone, which begins from the high tide zone out into sea by about 200 miles, correct?
Yes, correct.
But that's not the end, kasi kumbaga that is the measure on the above the water, but down below the water it's still connected. The Philippine Islands are still connected by this shelf further out, correct?
Yes, we call it the natural prolongation of the landmass.
Ayun, so kumbaga yung kahabaan, kabuuan nung buong Pilipinas sa ilalim ng tubig. Kumbaga, like an iceberg, we only see the top, but we don't realize that the bottom is 10 to 100 times bigger. Okay, now, pinag-aawayan yan, countries quarrel over that because like in Malampaya, we dug for natural gas, and then when we wanted to dig further out, nagwala na yung China. Teka, territory na namin yan. So there is this argument on who owns what part of the continental shelf. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so now, you were nominated to this Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf. I remember Teddy Boy Locsin nearly blew a fuse when Australia didn't give us their support, their vote of confidence. But recently, he tweeted, "Thank you to China for supporting us," which came as a surprise. Parang, teka, ano ba yan? Why is that important?
Of course, the votes of the member states, especially the UNCLOS states parties, are very important because they're the ones making decisions on who will compose the CLCS or the Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf. Unfortunately, Cito, I cannot comment on the
I understand that.
The FA and the government's concern.
Yeah, but I understand that, Efren. But what I meant to ask was this commission. How did it come about, or what is its significance? Kasi maraming commission dyan at maraming nangungumisyon, di ba? Pero pagdating sa batas and implementing rules, sulat mo sa West Philippine Sea, as they would say.
Yes, the Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf is one of the three bodies that were established under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS, to implement the provisions of that convention. The first one is the CLCS. The second one is the International Seabed Authority, which is in charge of the management of the seabed areas beyond national jurisdictions. And the last one is the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea. So the CLCS is tasked with the validation of coastal states' submission for their extended continental shelf. So meaning the seabed areas falling within national jurisdictions. It is very important to establish those boundaries because unless these boundaries between the seabed areas falling under national jurisdictions and those seabed areas falling under the international seabed, which is reserved for the common heritage of humankind, meaning everyone benefits from that, unless those boundaries are fixed, then no exploration, exploitation, or even management of the resources can take place because nobody knows where the boundaries are.
So, kumbaga, okay, you have your territories. Anything beyond the territory, in the middle of it all, is public land or international space. Okay.
Yes.
Now, you're now a commissioner. Thanks to the vote of all those member nations. So you cannot speak solely for the interest of the Philippines, or am I wrong? Kasi parang as a commissioner, you are now at the international level, walang kampi-kampihan, trabaho lang.
That is correct. That is correct. We are tasked to implement consistently and fully the provisions of UNCLOS insofar as the determination of the extended continental shelves of coastal states are concerned. So we are, in effect, in charge of the equitable, just and equitable allocation of ocean space.
Okay, now clearly in the last 30 years, things have changed because I remember NAMRIA. Of what I knew about NAMRIA was that agency used to give maps, site map, topographical maps, etc., location maps when I was building resorts in Palawan. But how does an agency like NAMRIA produce a guy like Efren Carandang and launches his career to the United Nations? You're not going to be based in the Philippines, am I correct? You're going to be based abroad?
I will just be working part-time, concurrent with my current position here at NAMRIA.
Okay, so you stay in the Philippines, or you will be shutting
Yes,
back
I go to New York back and forth when there are sessions.
Okay, that's exciting in the beginning. In the long term, good luck. Masakit sa katawan yan. Anyway, Efren, but going back to that, how did you get into that position? How did you become the country's foremost expert in the UNCLOS matters?
Cito, NAMRIA, my agency, is not just in charge of the mapping of our land territories, but also our maritime domains. So we cover both land and water. I started out as a hydrographer, meaning the one who maps the oceans for navigational purposes. And then later on, I specialized on the technical aspects of the law of the sea because our office is also in charge in delineating the different maritime zones, the baselines, the territorial seas, the exclusive economic zone, and the extended continental shelf. So I have attended or participated in countless, trainings, workshops, both here, locally and abroad, on the technical aspects of the law of the sea, because that is needed in the kind of work that we do. So there, I have been engaged with the Department of Foreign Affairs for the last 30 years or so on matters pertaining to maritime zones, even in maritime boundary negotiations with our neighbors, and lately with this extended continental shelf project.
Okay, now how do you guys determine who owns what, or what are the cases that are brought to the Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf? Ano ba yung mga pinag-aawayan dyan, or what are the particular cases?
You see, the determination of the extended continental shelves is guided by a very, very complex formula that is provided under Article 76 of UNCLOS, geological, geophysical, and hydrographic or bathymetric information that will prove that a country has a natural prolongation that goes beyond 200 nautical miles. That's the basic thing. But when we examine the formula, it's indeed a very, very complex set of formula that it would be very difficult to discuss here.
Yeah, I understand that, Efren. But I mean, in terms of cases, yung mga actual complaints, kasi, di ba, ngayon, there are cases or there are diplomatic protests brought to by one country against another country through diplomatic channels. Then there is this territorial dispute that is brought to the United Nations or to the international arbitration body, whatever. But as far as that commission that you have been appointed to, just one or two typical complaints. Ano yung mga kind of cases na tinatackle dyan?
Okay. The CLCS is not handling maritime disputes. In case there is a submission from one coastal state and it is protested by another coastal state, then the submission is shelved for the meantime until the parties concerned agree to a settlement. So it's not tasked to resolve or settle disputes. It is tasked with the validation of submissions that have no disputes. Like, for example, what we did in the Benham rice or the Philippine rice.
Okay.
That is one example where we have a very successful engagement with the Commission back in 2009 to 2012. In that case, there is no protest, so the Commission proceeded to validate our submission. So in cases of disputes, there are other avenues like the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea or the International Court of Justice. So unfortunately for the CLCS, its task is not is mainly to cover those areas that do not have disputes.
Okay, so well, not unfortunate, but fortunately, so yeah, you don't, di ba? Hindi ka naiipit sa nagbabanggaang bako, ika nga. But in this situation, so like the Philippines, they said, this is ours. This is our scientific basis for the determining what is ours. Submit it to the commission, and the commission will do the scientific assessment and say, okay, well, it's valid. It's theirs. We give a certificate that is the Philippine rice, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now, going back into this issue of the commission. Okay, so it does not settle disputes now. But how do you guys figure it out? Because kanina sabi ko nga, kailangan pa ba yan? Meron namang Google, meron namang satellite, di ba, etc. You have to excuse me, Efren. I'm trying to give you the questions that ordinary people convey. So pagpasensya mo na if I'm asking you medyo layman, ano? But it has to, for the better appreciation. Kasi naging celebrity ka in some ways. Parang bihirang makipag-away si Teddy Boy Locsin for a government official, but he went the 9 yards for you. So how do you guys determine it? Is it done by satellite probe, submarine, etc.?
Cito, in making a submission, the coastal state would submit very detailed technical and scientific data. There are volumes and volumes, just like what we did in Benham rice or Philippine rice. We submitted all the geological, the geophysical, geodetic, and the bathymetric data that would prove that the Philippines has a natural prolongation of its landmass east of Luzon. It's a very, very detailed information, both digital and analog data that we submit, and the commission examines all of those, making sure that all the required technical and scientific bases are there. So that's it. That is what's taking the commission so long, because they have to deal with large volumes of data.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Efren, because that's why I was asking that question. That we need to convey the depth and the extent of work done by governments and by administrations regarding this. Kasi honestly, no, ako parang Benham Rice, alam na nila yan kasi sinauna pa, panahon pa ng mga lolo ng lolo namin, nandiyan na yan, bahura na yan, etc. So we assume that, someone just stood up and said, hey, that's ours. We know that is X thousand feet deep and it's part of the Philippine archipelago. Yung pala, you have to make so many submissions. So that costs a lot of money.
Yes. In the case of the Philippine rice, I think it took us 7 to 10 years. I'm not sure of the exact number of years, but at least 7 years to systematically and meticulously gather all the technical and scientific data so that we can satisfy the requirements of the commission.
Okay, I'm sure that. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, we're talking here of the topography of the seabed, the thickness of the sediments, and all those kind of scientific data.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now I'm sure that your associates, classmates, even professors are saying, siga ka na, Efren Carandang. Talo mo pa si Efren Reyes. Kilala ka na sa United Nations. But for the Philippines, why is this membership in the commission significant? What does it say about not just you, but of the Philippines in terms of, nominating someone to the... Kasi ang balita ko, Teddy Boy pointed it out. It's not that easy unless you get the support. And if I'm not mistaken, you got the support of 113 member nations out of 164.
Yes, we have to convince each one of them that we are very determined and we're qualified to be a member of the commission. Yes, it's not very easy because in the Asia-Pacific region, it is hotly contested. The 5 seats allocated for it were contested by 9 candidates.
Yeah.
And 5 of those candidates are incumbents who have served multiple terms and somehow entrenched themselves into the commission, such that it is quite a disadvantage for newcomers like us. But with the very diligent work of our diplomats, we were able to make it.
Okay, so medyo ang dami ko tatanong.
Okay lang.
Napaka-complicated dito subject. So you finally became a member, and what does it say of the Philippines? Does it say, hindi, kasi they are very level-headed, they're fair, or because they have such a great organization called NAMRIA, etc.? I mean, what does this reflect? Your nomination reflects?
Yes, this nomination is part of a bigger, foreign affairs agenda. The Philippines, being one of the framers and original signatories of UNCLOS, have been very consistent in its commitment to an international law-based regime in maritime governance. We have been very consistent since we signed UNCLOS in 1982. We are defining our baselines and maritime zones in accordance with UNCLOS. We are delimiting our maritime boundaries with our neighbors in accordance with international law, including UNCLOS. We have been actively supporting, initiating mechanisms that foster the peaceful and sustainable uses of the oceans. And when we wanted clarity on the status and entitlements of maritime features in the West Philippine Sea, we submitted ourselves to arbitration. So this candidature or nomination to the CLCS is just a further demonstration of that strong commitment to an international law-based regime in maritime governance.
Okay, well, thank you for clarifying that, Efren, because I would not have associated your nomination as a direct effort of the Department of Foreign Affairs and Secretary Teddy Boy Locsin. Kasi we always think, ano yan dagat yan, lupa yan, so NAMRIA yan. So apparently, it is really a DFA effort. And of course, the government administration of President Duterte. Now, as far as the future, well, as far as those member countries, you mentioned about 5 member countries are hotly contesting our territories in our part of the world. Now, with those who nominated the members, were there statements such as, well, we just want an assurance, a guarantee that our rights will be respected. Kumbaga, iboboto kita. Pero, teka, huwag mong kalimutan yung amin. Parang, I think, I don't want to put words into your mouth. But, was there ever a expression of concern?
In fairness to the other candidates and even to the other states parties that we have talked to during the course of the campaign, nobody asked for a favorable, treatment of their, cases. It's really they are really asking for, commitment to fully and consistently implement the provisions of UNCLOS insofar as the task of the Commission is concerned.
Okay, and how soon will you be starting, and how is it going to affect your life? Kasi some people, they have to have 2 places. Will this require you to have a long stay in New York?
Based on the records of the Commission, they are having sessions at least 4 times a year, and each session lasting about 1 month. So that's it. I will be going back and forth. But my main base here will be still here in Manila.
All right. Okay. There's a request from our news desk. What are the top priority goals for you as a member of the commission? Is there such a thing na these are my top priority goals, or are you limited by the function of your position?
In the course of our conversations with the UNCLOS states parties during the course of the campaign, one common concern stood out, and that is the apparent delays in the consideration of the submissions, meaning it's taking a lot of time, sometimes even years, decades. So as a technical person, of course, I will be looking into the current system, the very detailed manner by which the Commission processes the submissions is strictly confidential. So for outsiders like us, we don't know. We cannot trace the root causes unless we are inside. But on the delays concerning the, inadequate funds being provided by the UN itself, I think we can make a very strong representation at the highest level of decision-making at the UN, and that is the Conference of Parties to the UNCLOS. So I will be offering to the table both my technical and management skills. I am a strategic planner and a management person too. So I will look into all of this and see how we can improve the system and how we can make stronger representation up there at the UN.
Okay, so it's not going to be a picnic for you.
Yes.
It's not going to be a walk in the park, because you're going to have to do your work and at the same time make sure that there is money or funding for your group to do their work. Well, anyway, we wish you all the best, and we're proud of you, Efren. Thank you for dedicating much of your life to this work, and God bless you.
Thank you, Cito. Thank you.
Okay, that's Efren Carandang, our Filipino representative. Well, not our representative. I think he is the first Filipino, I think, or whatever. Commission on the limits of the Continental Shelf. Okay, we will go for a quick break. When we return, pag-usapan naman natin, thermodynamics ba ito? Heat exchange, pero it is related to aeroponics. Okay? before you guys decide, ay, bye-bye Beltran, those bleed ka na naman. Hindi po, okay? Our next guest is an engineer from the Central Luzon State University. He is an engineer. He won in a prestigious competition, and it has something to do with thermodynamics ba yun, or heat exchange related to plants and soil. Okay, we'll be right back here on Agenda. Welcome back to the program Agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran. And at this part of our program, we go to Nueva Ecija, Central Luzon State University, and we are going to talk to an engineer and a faculty member of CSLU who recently won top prize for outstanding industrial category at the 2022 National Invention Contest and Exhibit, or 2022 NICE. Okay, let's watch this video.
Christopher Pascual is the recent Banghai awardee at the 2022 National Invention Contest and Exhibits. He won the Outstanding Industrial Design category for his entry called Ground Heat Exchanger System for Aeroponics. Aside from being an agricultural and biosystems engineer, Pascual is also a faculty member at the Central Luzon State University in Nueva Ecija.
Okay, welcome to the program, engineer. Kamusta na kayo?
Yes, sir, Cito. Good morning po. Thank you for having me.
Okay, and congratulations. As I mentioned in the introduction, you are the top prize winner for the Banghai Award, okay, Outstanding Industrial Design category. Ngayon, medyo nosebleed para sa iba, yung Ground Heat Exchanger or GHE system for aeroponics. Pwede bang, can we break it down to a simpler definition, engineer?
Yes, actually basic lang naman yung ground heat exchanger kung iintindihin natin, no. So if we try to understand it in a common terms, it's just like utilizing the temperature of the underground temperature, because definitely And technically, the temperature underground is much cooler than the ambient temperature. So mas malamig po kasi sa underground, di ba? So kaya nga, ang lagi kong biro dito kaya gustong-gusto ng mga ninuno natin doon kasi mas malamig. So 6 feet below the ground is much cooler.
Okay.
So that's definitely the idea of ground heat exchanger system.
Okay, when I was reading up on it, medyo I was trying to figure, sabi ko, what kind of scientific mind does this gentleman have? Because, ground heat is one thing, aeroponics is another thing. Kasi, di ba yung aeroponics, it is plants hanging or something? Paano ba? Kasi aquaponics, tubig.
Yes.
Aeroponics, it is hanging
In air, yeah.
In air, right? Oh,
yes.
Mga halaman.
Yeah. So ground heat exchanger system actually is not a new technology. It has been used in the Western countries for cooling their rooms. Dahil doon sa mga bansa na yon, mayroon silang mainit na panahon, mayroon silang extreme condition what they have, right?
Yeah.
So they are using the ground heat exchanger system as a passive cooling to cool down the rooms or their houses during summer season, and then consequently heating the rooms during cooler months during winter. So that's the idea in the ground heat exchanger system. And then I tried to do it here in the Philippines. Why not? We can use it for crop production.
Okay.
So we combine this technology because it's more effective when it is used for aeroponics. Since the aeroponics is the roots are just hanging in the air. So by utilizing the ground heat exchanger system, parang nagbaon tayo ng tubo kung saan dadaan yung tubig ngayon through a water pump before reaching to the roots of the plants. So in effect, we maintain a water temperature that is being supplied to the roots. That's why it's called the ground heat exchanger system for cooling the root zone of the plants. So that's definitely the technology that it has that was generated through this system.
Okay. Kasi ang naintindihan ko dyan sa sinasabi mo, engineer, is something that we adopt sa aquariums. Instead of buying itong mga cooling equipment,
Yes.
o refrigerating equipment, kasi may mga aquariums na kailangan mas malamig ang temperature. Ang ginagawa namin, humuhukay kami ng malalim, ginagawa namin parang balon, tapos doon dumadaan yung tubig. But in your case, kasi many farmers in the Philippines, they have tanks, they have open tanks, pero nakabilad sa araw, naiinitan, so nakakaipon sila. They save water, but the water is still warm. You're doing is you bury the pipes underground, and the soil keeps the water cooler than above ground.
That's right. Yes. That's the basic explanation of that ground heat exchanger system. Yes.
Okay. Now, how effective is it? Kasi engineer, sorry, dyan sa Central Luzon State University, kasi sobrang dami ninyong mga genius dyan, mga scientists, mga award winners na sasabihin, dito pabigatan ng system. Now, how successful or efficient is this ground heat exchange system?
Yeah, for crop production, we are looking at the conducive root zone temperature, because as we understand, mostly crops, when the roots are exposed to a higher temperature, say 30 degrees Celsius or higher, the plants are getting stressed, no? So when they are stressed, they could not produce more, they could not grow well. So they are stressed. Just like human, pag stress ang tao, hindi effective magtrabaho. Parang ganun. So just like the plants, we are providing a good root zone temperature by maintaining a lower temperature that is way below the detrimental effect of higher temperature, which is we were looking at 30 degrees Celsius. So by utilizing the ground heat exchanger system, because in the Philippines, yes, we don't have that much cooler temperature, but we have this higher temperature above like 34, 36 degrees Celsius. So the average temperature in the Philippines, if we sum it up and average the whole year temperature, that's about 26 to 27 degrees Celsius.
Okay. Average. But
average.
In Central Luzon, mainit dyan sa CLSU. Mainit dyan.
Yeah, even though mainit, ang average pa rin ay 26. Pag susumahin natin during December, medyo malamig. Pagka naman summer, mainit. So all year round, we summarize and average the temperature. We could get a 26 to 27 degrees Celsius. And that is the temperature underground all year round. It doesn't change.
Okay.
So no matter
what happens, what happens, engineer, when the weather is cooler, like December, January? Does it remain the average of 26, 27, or does it get colder underground because of the weather?
Yeah, even though, actually, it doesn't get colder. It will still maintain the 26 to 27 degrees Celsius. But since the canopy of the plants are already exposed to a much cooler environment, it's still below, it's still the ideal temperature for the plants. Even the root zone are 26 or 27 degrees Celsius. And there are also innovations where we bypass actually the ground heat exchanger during cooler months.
Okay, hindi yung it's not a fixed system, you have an option. Pwede kang mamili.
Yes.
Taglamig, huwag nyo nang gamitin yung cooling system na yan. Diretso na tayo dun sa poso.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, now, did you do comparative analysis of one greenhouse using the heat exchanger or the ground cooling technology versus a greenhouse that was just using the usual water tank above ground model?
We actually have our initial experiment during this the development of this technology. We had this experiment where we actually compare using air condition for cooling, and then the ground heat exchanger system, and we call it control, where there is no cooling at all, just the natural flow of water.
Yeah.
Yes, we have done that, and we come up with the result where using ground heat exchanger is comparable to using air condition. So that's why we are recommending the ground heat exchanger. Why do we need to use air condition wherein it's just an added cost if we use the air condition. Yes, it will cool down the water and the roots of the plants, but definitely it will be a higher cost in the long run as an operational cost. But using the ground heat exchanger, it produces almost the same. It's not significantly different.
Okay, now, so if you wanted to plant strawberries, for instance, which thrives at higher altitude, nakita ko dun sa photo mo, yung hawak mo, 3-4 na tray ng strawberry. Are you actually saying that these strawberries were grown in Central Luzon State University using this system?
Yes, that was the result of our experiment during that time. But please take note that strawberry is a seasonal crop. Okay?
Yes.
It only produces fruit during short day length, meaning mas maiksi yung araw. That's the time during November, December, January, February to March. So and that's also the cooler months, right?
Yeah.
So we take advantage of those months so we can produce strawberries. But in the other months, then we have to deviate to other crops that does not need a special environmental requirement like strawberry.
Okay, now you said that, okay, so this system of underground cooling, okay, kasi pag sinabi kong heat, the ground heat exchanger, nano-nosebleed yung viewers natin eh. So tawagin na lang natin underground cooling system for
Yes.
water. When you install it inside, let's say a greenhouse, or for use in a greenhouse, how deep does it have to be?
Depending on the location and the condition of the soil, some of the factors that will affect the efficiency of a ground heat exchanger system or underground cooling is the moisture of the soil, the plants around it. Of course, when it is shaded with many plants, definitely the soil is much cooler, and you can just dig not that deep. But in our case, where it is exposed, totally exposed, and there's no forage or trees surrounding it, so we are maintaining at a depth of 1.5 meters. So we have to dig at a depth of 1.5 meters so we can harness a good and non-fluctuating temperature underground.
Would you have the same effect katulad yung ginawa kong yung cooling tanks na ginagawa ko dati? Would it have the same effect if you were just going to bury concrete tanks underground with then using a sump pump, or kasi ginamit mo is PVC pipes?
PVC.
Did you use PVC pipes because they're more practical, long-lasting, etc.? Use madaling gamitin lang?
Yeah, actually, this technology is flexible. Just like what you have mentioned, we are also using this cement tank. We are constructing a tank, a cement tank underground. At least a depth of at least 1.5 meters. That will definitely help in maintaining the temperature of say the water that you are using for whatever purposes, be it aquaponics or for fish culture or for plant production.
That's interesting. You mentioned kasi aquaponics. For aeroponics, the cold water will not stay long-term with the root system kasi they either evaporate or they cascade. But
Yes.
with aquaponics, the water is constant in contact with the root of the plants. Now, does cold water benefit, or cool water, hindi naman cold water yun, cool water, does it benefit the plants than normal ambient temperature would?
Yes, definitely, because there are these requirements of the plants where it has to maintain an ideal temperature. So, for example, mostly plants are requiring a root zone temperature of 16 to 26 degrees Celsius. So definitely it will benefit with the cooler root zone temperature, even if the canopy are exposed to a higher temperature. There are already many researches done, not only in the Philippines, but worldwide research that cooling only the root zone of the plants will benefit in terms of growth and development, even if the canopy are, because we cannot totally control the temperature or the ambient temperature. It will be a much investment. So what we are doing now is just cooling the root zone of the plants, and it produced the same result like cooling the whole canopy of the plants.
So when if someone were to adopt this system of spray, irrigating, or aquaponics, etc., in a greenhouse, because I noticed in the video that you provided, there are a lot of greenhouses and they're in exposed areas. And one thing that discouraged people in the Philippines from using greenhouses, grabe, ang init na nga sa Pilipinas, nagpla-plastic pa tayo, di na mamamatay ka sa init dyan. That's a comment, no? It's just too hot. But when you use this ground cooling or ground heat exchanger system, does it also make the greenhouse cooler?
No, it's only the roots of the plants that's being pulled.
Okay.
Okay, but
Even if you use it for the aquaponics.
yeah, even with the aquaponics, it cools down the water. So in effect, it cools down the root zone of the plants, and also it provides a good environment for the fish because there's also a temperature requirement for the fish to grow very well.
Okay, so have there been any large-scale application of your technology, engineer?
Yes, not as of now because this is just the beginning of this technology. It's just been in the in the like in the industry for like 3 years since it was done for the research. So what we are doing for now is we are extending it to many stakeholders like local government units, elementary schools. We are putting up in elementary schools so that our young people will be exposed to this kind of technology. Because as you all know now, many young people don't like to go into farming anymore. They don't want to make their hands dirty. So with this technology, they don't need to have their hands dirty because it's soilless. It's definitely soilless. They're not going to use they're not even touching the soil. Okay, so this is the drive that we are doing right now. Although I can say that it's not yet in the market.
Okay lang, don't worry.
Okay, so yun. So there are already some investors who are coming and they are saying they are interested to adopt this technology. And actually, that is our goal here to really put this technology into a larger scale so our community will benefit.
Oh, and then hopefully those investors, because it's not, ladies and gentlemen, as far as Central Luzon State University is concerned, it's not about making profits out of inventions or technology developed in the university, but so dapat din mag-payback tayo. When we get technology from CLSU, we should also pay back to them by terms of grants, supports, and I hope our friends who runs companies, corporations, and in the agriculture field would revisit CLSU. Kasi wala ba kayong campaign para magkaroon ng mga field trips dyan sa CLSU? Because I've been there. I met your president at one time, pre-COVID, and there is so much to learn about CLSU, engineer.
Yes, sir. Actually, we are just distracted by this pandemic times. But CLSU, as always, is always open to visitors, those who really want to visit us and learn from our technologies that was generated. We are starting again since it's a little bit open for visits. We are actually opening the door for more visitors to come.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Engineer Christopher Pascual. Thank you for exchanging information with me and our viewers, and congratulations. And thank you also to CLSU.
Thank you so much, Sir Cito. Thank you so much.
Okay, ang po, Engineer Christopher Pascual, first placer 2022 National Invention Contest and Exhibits. Sasabihin nyo na, napakasimple. Hindi po. Sabi nga nung ating isang naging guest, tayong Pilipino, we are so good at prototypes and tests and trials, but we never follow through, okay? And the thing that Engineer Pascual is doing, I have done similar contraptions dahil mad scientist din ako. And if you're interested, please go to the Central Luzon State University. Mapakambing, mapakalabaw, dairy, etc. Yan, technology, industrial technology, they got it all. Parang Shumart. Okay, let's go to our blessing for the week from Genesis chapter 12, verse 2 to 3. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. Okay, next. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse, and all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. God bless all of you. God bless the Philippines. Thank you for joining us on Agenda. We hope to see you, God willing, next week. And please keep it here on One News PH.